All right, so we're starting the React Play Bangalore meetup. Just to tell you all, this is our first ever offline meetup. We'll tell more about what React Play is and stuff. First of all, I would like to welcome you all to React Play Bangalore. I would like to thank venue partner GeekyAnts for making this happen for us for the first time. And thank you all, obviously, for taking out time on this weekend for joining us on this beautiful evening. And I want to ask now, if anyone can answer that. Do anyone know what React Play is? Anyone? Okay. Can we have a mic? I guess it's Tapas's friend, if I'm not wrong. Um,
Yeah, I've been like part of React Play. I contributed there. It's kind of open source community, like which is led by Tapas. It's a good thing, like where if you want to learn something and contribute with respect to React or any other technologies, it's a good forum to be part of. And yeah, pretty exciting work. Like we have like a lot of things, a lot of features we wanted to put in
yeah,
to that particular application. And good that like the community is growing.
yeah.
uh, yeah, like going forward, like I would like to contribute more towards the uh, React Play community. Yeah, that's all.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Um, Anyone else? How many of you came from meetup.com? Okay, all of you. Have you tried Googling what React Play is, or have you seen our GitHub or our Twitter profile? Interesting. So let's talk about React Play first. I would like to ask our founder, the founder of React Play, to give a quick introduction about what React Play is, how it started, and stuff. Founder, yes.
Uh, okay. First of all, thank you everyone for coming. I hope there will be more people who will be coming in. And thanks a lot, GeekyAnts, for this beautiful place and great lunch. I had lunch here. Okay, so what React Play is, as Nagarjun was saying, is like it's an open source community. That's how we started. We started probably a couple of years back, uh, just to encourage many developers, like web developers, that if they are building anything on React, they can build on this platform, and we are a bunch of people who will come together and review your code. You can bring, build any project in the platform, and as and when you build the project, we'll review your code. And once you pass that phase of code review and all, your project become live, and everybody can look into the project. So it means that it's a win-win situation, that you go through the code review, learn from it. At the same time, somebody else is seeking some inspiration from your project, they can actually get it in a beautiful way. So we built that infrastructure, we built everything. The project is open source on GitHub, having more than, I think, 1K star now. So people are liking it. But along with that, what we also discovered that people need, basically developers need more than just coding. So we started pitching in different other perspective. So one of the perspective was hackathon. I think that's how Pritesh was introduced to React Play. You want to talk about that?
So yeah, this is what we talked about. We have so we actually hosted this hackathon called Two Days a Month, which was fabulous. I was calling to Twitter. So I was scrolling through Twitter, and I came across the post of React. I really knew something back then. I found the Hello. I was not. So if you want to earn more credits in this particular hackathon, you have to create 5-hour live streaming on this platform called Stack Stream, right? Stack Stream. So there, I thought like let me give it a try. If you want to win any hackathon, the first thing is you have to be unique, right? You cannot be same person creating same project that everyone else is creating. You have to be different from the crowd in order to stand out different and win that hackathon. I won around 2 hackathons till now, and that's the only reason. Okay. So yeah, in this particular hackathon, we had a bunch of discussions and stuff like that. And as I told that I gave like 5-day web development boot camp. So this videos are live on Tapas channel. If you want to check, you can check it also. Previously, it was on Stack Stream. Then we just uploaded on YouTube Live. Yeah, so that was an interesting part that I had, and then that was my initial phase that I got introduced to React Play, and then the person and I I found this guy also interesting, and I thought like let me work with him for some more time, and I was then involved in everything related to branding and social media and community building for React Play. So I used to do Twitter Spaces for React Play, and then after that we started something called open mic. I want Tapas to explain what was the thought process behind starting an open mic.
Yeah, so open mic is still exists today, by the way. It's about encouraging every developers to come on stage and speak. Usually, developers are shy, including me. They prefer sitting there. They don't prefer coming here. But they have all the ingredients to do it. Believe me. If I can stand here and speak, you can too. But the problem is like a physical stage like this, it seems to be a burden. I mean, taking the step from here to here takes years. So we wanted to kind of make it easy. We told, okay, first you come online. You don't have to really have any prior experience of speaking. You come speak, we'll stream it on our channel, and we'll give you enough support. Nobody is going to judge you. And once you are ready that with your speaking, you speak elsewhere. Everywhere you speak. And maybe one day you speak on React Play Meetup, right? So that's what the open mic is still there. If you're interested in speaking, reach out to us. We'll definitely facilitate that you can actually speak in our open mic event.
Yeah, and this has been a wonderful year for React Play because in this year only we also did our first college event, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, we also did a college event with association with FOSS, the open source hub actually. So we traveled to a college in Shimoga where we did workshop and talks with different streams of engineering college students. It was a complete day event. It was really good. It was really good to kind of get such responses. So yeah, overall, I think if I tell is like it was quite satisfying, and it is to build something like this and to continue. And would like to get support from all of you, whoever here, whoever will be listening us later point of time. If you can help us be part of the community in any way, you are most welcome. Only skill that you need is the curiosity and the intention to help. There is no other skill required, basically. So we can welcome and make the
yeah.
stage open.
First of all, let's start with a great round of applause for yourself for making out uh, to this meetup. And having said that, Tapas, we are also looking for some in Discord community manager, right? If
Yeah.
you, yeah.
Yeah, so we have some footprint on Discord where we have community manager who are managing them, but we are growing there. So if any of you are interested to give your hands, whenever you are free to, lead some events on Discord, do some kind of community stuff, we are here. We'll be here after all the talks also, so we can catch up. If you're interested, we'll get you started. Yep.
All right. This is our link tree. If you scan the QR code, you'll get all the handles of React Play. You can follow us on Twitter and LinkedIn to get latest updates of what is going on React Play. We also have our newsletter. You just subscribe to it, and you'll get monthly updates on what we are doing every month. Last month was October. So we had amazing Hacktoberfest, and a lot of good PRs got merged. Right, we have good maintainers like Priyankar and Sachin, who helped us a lot in reviewing and merging PRs. All right. With that, I guess we can start the talk, the first talk for the evening. And I would like to invite Shruti on the stage for our first talk. Shruti is an international speaker. She just came after a wonderful talk, um, right? And she's super active in Laravel and CSS, sorry, Tailwind CSS communities. She also has published good number of ebooks, which is kind of, I say, a USP of Shruti, because I know her for that, mostly for on Twitter. So with that, I would like to welcome. Yeah.
Right. Hello, everyone. Welcome once again to this ReactPlay meetup. And you must be wondering what CSS doing here in React. But we all know that it's one of the things you cannot ignore. And today my talk is about some of the latest features that you don't want to ignore. But before that, I know I can't see a show of hands online, but at least I want to know how many of you right here actively work with CSS. That's good. That's good. Okay. So how many of you struggle with CSS can keep the hands up? Okay. Wow. So I'm sure online also the statistics is pretty much those who couldn't see pretty much everybody work with CSS actively and struggle with CSS actively. But I don't know if you're aware that in the recent past, there has been a lot of development in CSS. For almost a decade, it was, very slowly moving ahead, very small improvements and everything. But the last couple of years has actually been a very good 2 years for CSS, because the features that developers always wanted are finally being implemented by the browsers, and some of the great features are available, and every day something new is happening. So if you're following people on Twitter, okay, yeah, I forgot to introduce myself. I always do this. That's why I put up a slide so that I don't forget to talk about myself, because at the end I realize people come and ask, "You spoke about CSS. What's your name?" Anyway, so I'm Shruti Balasa. I'm a tech educator, born and brought up in Bangalore. So this is like my city. And I am also a mother of a 6-year-old. I don't look like, so I better say it. And so I took this path of being an educator after my child was born, because I couldn't, I didn't want to dive into the corporate world again, have deadlines, or even take up projects which are too heavy for me. I wanted to have a good balance of taking care of my child plus, doing something really good. That's when I thought I'm good at teaching as well. So why not? Why not, combine the skills of my knowledge and my teaching skills? So I create courses, video courses. Then I have some of my courses on LinkedIn Learning as well. And I have my YouTube channel with about 11,000 subscribers. Recently, Tapas, overtook me. I'm keeping a close tab. I'll come back at you, okay? So, and I also write ebooks. A couple of my ebooks are out. Yeah, so some of the talks also recently, last month, exactly a month ago, I gave a talk at Belgium. So this is about me. This is what I do. Let's come back to the CSS features now. So if you follow some of the people on CSS, or if you have subscribed to newsletters or some updates, if you try to catch, you must have heard of, some of these features like subgrid, container queries, style queries, custom properties, nesting, cascade layers, conditional CSS, hash selector, and new color schemes like LCH, lab, and all of that. So some of these you might have just heard, some you might have been excited and gone deeper and learned, or you would have just thought, okay, fine. I mean, I know all these new features are coming up, but does it really what do you say, add any value to me? Fine, I'm excited about all the features, but will I actually go and learn them until the browser support has landed, right? So you will wait, you don't care about the new features until there is enough cross browser support. Otherwise, CSS is already hard enough, you all agree, and imagine having to learn the latest features, implement them, along with that add all these polyfills, or write other CSS code to support the older browsers, write those fallbacks. It's so hard. That's why you wouldn't like to dive into CSS features immediately, latest ones. But that is why today I'm going to talk about 5 features, not all those that I showed you in the previous slide, but just 5 important ones which are which are something you can start using today, because there is good cross browser support. I'll even show you the stats, and I'll give you a good idea of what those features are and how you can start using them right away. So the very first one is container queries. How many of you have heard about it or started using it? Heard about it? Okay, so some of you have heard about it, and good that you've not started using it. Otherwise, my next 5 minutes will bore you. So, container queries is very similar to, I mean, it's very helpful for responsive web design, because right now you will not develop a desktop only web app, right? You have to support all sorts of different devices. Now it's very similar to media queries. Only thing is, now imagine this card. It could be an article, it could be some person's profile, it could be anything. It's a card with an image on the left and some text on the right. Now this is on the main section of the web page. What if you want to display the same thing on the sidebar? This is the layout it would take, right? The image on the top and text on the left. But if you have, everything else is similar. Like if you see, there are rounded corners for the image, and probably the text of the color is same. If there's a heading, the size is same, everything else is same, but obviously the flex direction changes, right? If you have to implement this, you probably will have to add some sort of a class like card narrow, an additional class, and change the flex direction. So essentially, you cannot reuse the exact same component for the main section and the sidebar. You'll have to add an additional class. But with container queries, that problem can be solved. So where the with media queries, what you do is you check the viewport width. Usually, of course, we can do viewport height as well, but the the mostly used thing is the viewport width. We check the viewport width and change some styles based on that, right? With container queries, you can do the same thing, but instead of the viewport, you check any parent's width. So in this case, it's the main section. You query a parent's width, and based on that, you change it. So you will know if that card is placed in a in a wider parent or in a smaller parent. So based on that width, you can change the styles. It's not very hard. So you'll have an element called card wrap or something, a parent element which holds the card. All you have to do is set the CSS property container type to inline size. Inline size is usually the width, right? So you have to set that, okay, I'm going to query this container for its width. So you just set that property. And then, very similar to media queries, for media queries, you use at media rule. Here you're using at container rule, right? And then you check the, you query the width, saying min width 400 pixels or something like that, and change the styles accordingly. And now in the future, in the very near future, we're going to have a lot of such containers. because this is just the main section and one card. But in your entire website, you might have different containers with different widths that you want to query and accordingly change some styles. For that, you can even give this container a name. For that, the property is container name, and you can call it anything. So, for example's sake, we've just taken it as card. And then if you come down to the bottom, you just have to add that name next to add container rule. So that way you know that based on which container that you're changing the styles of the child. You can also combine these two properties, container name and container type, with a single shorthand property, that is container. First comes the name, followed by the /, and then what property that you're querying. So yeah, if you're not able to imagine how well this will be used or the use cases, is it so important that I have to learn this? You can go to this I Shadid lab. It's Amit Shadid. I don't know how many of you know about him. He writes amazing blog posts. He has books, and he mostly talks about real world examples and covers them really well. So he has this, what do you say, website called ishadid.com, where a lot of these new features that come up, he creates examples and he even gives out the code. So you can see that a lot of these examples are there. All of these are using container queries. So timeline component, news card, article, and so on. If you look at one of the examples, here's a timeline component where you can see design, development, and testing, one on the main section and the other one on the sidebar. Imagine this is the exact same component. There is no difference in CSS at all. It's the same CSS, but for the, by querying the container, there are some, changes that are made. I'm so sorry, I have to mute this. I don't know who's calling me. Yeah. So you don't have to add any extra classes. You can absolutely entirely reuse the component. And then look at this, testimonial card or something. And if you resize the window, you can see that, the background color changes. And here, the text size is also shrinking or expanding based on the width of the container, right? So the viewport is not changing. So it might be on the desktop itself, but the container is what is changing. And you can do this. And the way the text size is changing is by using container query length units. So the way we have viewport units, we use VW, right? And you might all have done this, min height is equal to 100 VH. Like that you have to set your, any section to 100% height. So the way you use viewport units, you can use container units called CQI, that is the CQ inline size, that is the width. So if you say 5 CQI, that means it's 5% the container's inline size. That's how the font size was changing when you expanded and reduced. There are multiple such things you can do, which is pretty good. Now talking about the browser support, as you can see, I have taken a screenshot of can I use, and I've shown the usage stats. So not just the latest browsers. So the usage currently is 88% of these browsers versions which have already implemented container queries. So that's pretty good. You can see that it's implemented in most of the major browsers that people are using. So you can already start making good use of container queries. So the second one, it's called subgrid. Again, how many of you have heard of subgrid? Okay, few of you. Right. So what essentially subgrid is that when you use grid, you'll usually use nested grids also. There are some such complicated layouts which will make you have grid 1, you have a grid container, you have some grid items, then that grid item becomes a grid container which has some more grid items. But the nested grid items have no idea of the parents grid lines. So there's no way you can align them once again in the parent grid lines, right? So if you have some real wardrobes, you can imagine that the moment you place some more boxes within them, they are not aware of the parent lines. I'll give you an example. So here, let's say this is a typical layout of a web page with maybe some team profiles or anything like that, with image and some text and maybe the person's name and designation, or this could be testimonial cards, anything like that. So the first one is a grid layout with 3 columns, correct? The 3 cards that you're seeing. And then again, each card is again a grid container with 3 rows, right? But these rows, you cannot align them based on the parent. So one grid is unaware of another grid's presence or their lines or how they're aligned. So you will not be able to do that. With subgrid, that's possible. So this is the parent grid lines, and these are the grid lines for each and every item separately, because they think, that is a standalone grid layout, right? With subgrid, what you can do is, this is what you would do with normally grid. You have display grid template columns, repeat 3 1FR. That's how you got those 3 columns. And then each item, you'll say display grid and grid template rows, right? 3 and then auto, because you don't know the height. You want to automatically adjust. So if you want to align them also accordingly, you just have to change this last one, grid template rows, to subgrid first. Okay, so set the value to subgrid, and then you just have to tell it how many rows it has to span. Okay, so you're telling it that there are 3 rows, so span from row number 1, row line 1 to row line 4. And that's it. You just have to add these 2 lines for this to happen. So then this is way more aligned. You're able to put them all in the same place while not altering any of your HTML or anything, because this is possible. Of course, this is possible by altering the HTML and using maybe 3 by 3 grid layout itself, but that's not the point. There might be different ways of doing this in the markup. So we're not altering the markup, but using subgrid, we are aligning them well enough. So once again, aishadid.com has a few more examples of where subgrid is used. Another use case that I really liked is the footer. So the footer of a web page will usually have this layout, right? So there's a heading and there are some quick links, blog posts, some quick links and things like that. So that way, look at the third column. It has a double line header. But with footers, you just can't do that. You just can't align the headings in a way and then the quick links later, right? This is one of a great usage for subgrid. So yeah, coming to the usage stats, trust me, I had to. So this is a similar talk I gave last month, and that time the usage was 68%. It was just a month ago. I had to take a screenshot again yesterday. So the usage has already increased to 79%, which is great because Chrome implemented subgrid a little late. It was only done in 117 version, but now that the usage of that is improving, you can see that the percentage has gone up. So you can start using subgrid right away, because anyway, it's more of a progressive enhancement than a very required feature, but it makes things look good. So why not use it? And then, yeah. So this is an interesting new feature, that is new color spaces. But to talk about this, I want to give you a little more background. So our human eye can perceive, so many millions of colors, right? When you look around, you can see nature and you can see so many different colors. But any device or any screen is not capable of displaying that many range of colors, right? In the last decade, or maybe 10 years ago, any screen could display only 30% of the range of colors that a human eye could perceive, just 30%, right? But only in the last decade, with the introduction of all these high definition, retina display, OLED screens, all of these, that percentage has increased to 60%. So that 30%, it's called a gamut, that is the range, it's called gamut, it's called sRGB. So if this is what a human eye can perceive, then sRGB is only 30%. That's what we also use in CSS. We say RGB and the colors or the hex code or anything. We are only able to show that range of colors. But the new system, which is right now even in your pockets and in your displays at home or your office, That's a wider gamut, which we are not making use of in CSS. Because in CSS, we use, yeah, this is another representation. In CSS, we use the functions RGB, HSL, just a moment. Yeah, let me start again. So in CSS, we only use RGB, HSL, and hex, so on, right? These are the standard ones we've been using so far, and they only cover the sRGB range. So they're not able to display those vivid colors that you can actually see. So if you take a photo and you put that on the web page, you will see the same colors. But if you try to, add a nice background of a similar color, you will not get that color. It won't be so vibrant. To do that, you will have to make use of these new color spaces, which are lab, LCH, OK lab, and OK LCH. So I'll tell you the difference. I'll tell you how that works. So you know how RGB is, right? It's a combination of the intensities of red, blue, and green. And when it comes to HSL, it's a combination of hue, saturation, and lightness. Now, what is hue? Hue is that angle on the color wheel. All of you have used color pickers, so you've definitely seen a color wheel which goes from, which covers different shades of colors. H is that angle. So it's almost like you can say which color it picks, like blue, green, or pink, a shade of that. Saturation is the intensity of that color. And lightness is how light or dark it is. So it's like, if you view it in grayscale, then you will know the lightness. Now, the new color function LCH is the combination of lightness, chroma, and hue. Hue is the same. There is no difference. Chroma and saturation are similar, but there is no upper limit for the value of chroma. So the color can get as vivid or vibrant as you can imagine. And LCH can even represent colors that cannot be displayed by the retina displays right now. So in the future, if the devices come up with better display capabilities, LCH already supports it. That's how the value of chroma can change. And lightness, you might think it's the same. HSL has a lightness and LCH has a lightness, but it's very different. I'll show you another image for you to understand how it's different. So this is just a representation. LCH, here also it says 50%, there also it says 50%, but it will be different. I'll show you how. So now these are some different colors where the hue is the same, the saturation is the same, and then the lightness is just reduced to 50%. So the one on the left that you see is HSL, the one on the right you see is LCH. So can you observe that on the left, you see the yellow? It's actually 50% light only, but it's so much more bright. And you see the dark blue there, fourth from the bottom. You see it's so dark. So there's a stark difference in the contrast. Though the lightness is 50% only, yellow is so much bright and dark blue is so dark. But when you see the same set of colors in LCH, they're very uniform. So the lightness, the perceived lightness is what LCH follows. And why this is important, I mean, does it even matter? Yes, because now imagine you have a button, right? And, you have the same color code. I mean, the exact same shade or whatever you call it. In HSL, that's how it's represented. And in OKLCH, it's represented this way. Now, let's say you have a project where you let the user decide the theme. You might want them to change from purple theme to orange or something, right? So when you give that option, all you have to do is change the hue, correct? Because you're keeping the lightness and saturation the same. You just have to change the hue so that it changes from purple to orange. So when you do that in HSL, if you change it to green, you get that. Because 50% lightness in that green in HSL is so much more light. But in LCH, you can see that the contrast ratio is similar. So that way, if you work with colors, if you work with themes in your project, you should definitely consider switching to OKLCH. Now I'm using LCH and OKLCH together, but they are pretty much the same. OKLCH is a slight improvement over LCH. So you see that the contrast is not, actually the slide is, showing it much better than my laptop. So already there's a difference. What I'm seeing here is that button text is hardly visible, but there it's visible. Anyway. So Why do you have to use new color spaces? Two simple reasons. LCH and such, color functions can be used to display wider range of colors. So you can choose from different, more vibrant colors and show your website in a much vibrant way. And second, like I showed you recently, the lightness in LCH is consistent to the human eye. So you can vary it and just, can just vary the hue, keep the lightness the same, and you can totally trust that it displays correctly. Support of this cross-border support, as you can see, it's mostly green. The percentage is 87%, so you can totally start using it now. Of course, if you want to use fallbacks, there are color pickers available, color converters available, so you can use them. If you're using React, I think there's definitely one polyfill available that you can start using. So the fourth, feature is the hash selector. This is something a lot of developers have been asking, because so far there is a way for you to select a child based on the, style of a parent. So what we do is, but what hash selector does is you can style the parent based on the child. I'll give you an example. So let's say we have this, you have a lot of divs, and then you have a lot of paragraphs, and then there's one div which is special. If you want to style paragraph within the special divs, this is what you would do, right? Div special, either space P, or you use a combinator, child combinator, and select it, and you add your styles here. But let's say you have a lot of divs, and one of the paragraphs inside the divs is special. But is it possible to style that particular parent based on the child? How do you do it? There is no CSS way of doing it. You probably have to use JavaScript for that. There are a lot of use cases for this. I'll show you next. So to do this, you can use the hash selector this way. So you can say the div that has the special child and add your styles there. So this is how we are able to select a parent based on the styles of the child, or even the state of the child, maybe hover, or so many other things like that. So here's an example for this. Now let's say you are displaying some blog posts or anything on your page. Some of them have images, some of them don't have images. So if it has an image, then that's how it displays. It's a flex layout where the image is on the left, text on the right. But if it doesn't have an image, then you can add a blue border. So they both are the exact same component, but maybe the content is dynamically added. So you don't know which element has an image, which one doesn't. So you make CSS take care of that, and not put that burden on JavaScript. Okay, and hash selector is very famously known as the parent selector, but it's not limited to parents alone. You can select siblings, because once you can select a parent, you can again select the parent's children, right, which are siblings. So it's also a sibling selector. We already know that there is one sibling selector, which is, let's say you want to select a sibling after some class, right? So the second one is special here. So if you want to select any sibling that comes after the sibling, it's very easy. You can do that with this. If it's a very immediate sibling, you can do that with the plus selector. Otherwise, you can use the tilde symbol, and it selects any sibling that comes after it. But how do you select a sibling that comes before it? So one use case of this is this floating label. So when you click on an email address or something, you see that the label floats up. So this is implemented using the sibling selector. But you can't select in CSS without the hash selector. There is no way you can select a previous sibling. But with hash, it's a little complicated, the syntax. But don't worry, it's, if you compare it to what is on the left, you will see that it's pretty similar. So you can see that if that li has, is a previous sibling, sorry, I cannot explain it, but it's possible to select a previous sibling using this hash selector, and this is how you do it. So the use case for this is, consider, you have a list like this, you hover over any of that, notice that the previous one and the next one scales to 50%, or maybe 150%. The one that is hovered scales to 200%. So this is not possible to do without hash selector. This is an example taken from smashingmagazine.com. So talking about the usage, this again, I think I took a screenshot yesterday again. There was a difference already in the last 1 month. It is supported in almost all the major browsers and the percentage is 89%. But you might notice that Firefox is red, but don't worry, you can see a green flag on that if your eyes are pretty sharp. Otherwise, there's a small green flag. That means it's already implemented in Firefox nightly. It's going to be implemented anytime. I think by the end of this month, it'll come in the next major version, and the usage will obviously improve in the next coming months. So it's already happening, and you can start using the hash selector as well. So the last feature, which is a very small one, not as big as the previous four that I spoke about, it's the new syntax for media queries. It's not a big deal. You can use it, you can leave it, but I feel this is something that's going to start getting implemented so much that you better be aware of it and start learning already. So this is the syntax currently. You say min width 600 pixels or max width or something like that. But now the new syntax that is being supported by most browsers is this. So you can use the symbols like lesser than, greater than, equal to, and so on, which is more readable in my opinion, in a lot of people's opinion. So this is how you target a particular range, right? Like between 600 and 750. But it takes you a moment to actually write this. Min width or max width, what should come first, what should come later, and all those brackets and complicated stuff. With the new syntax, you can do this. More compact and more readable, easier to write as well. You can use lesser than, equal to, and you can put the width in between. Also supports the use of logical operators like or and not. So you can do something like, media not hover or width is less than 480 pixels. So to target something that's, very small where the hover is not detected, things like that. Yeah, so the support for this, again, it's pretty great. But you might want to just be careful before implementing this, because if this is not, I mean, if the media query doesn't work, your responsive design will not be that great. But I just wanted to show you this so that you're aware of this new syntax. This is what might be implemented in the future, and we might scrap the old one. You never know. So this is also 85% usage. So yes, I think that's most of the selector features. I spoke about 5 new features. There are so many that we spoke about, and so many that are upcoming. So you might want to know, how do I stay updated? How do I know what are the new CSS features coming? Are there any particular blogs I follow? Or even if I know the new features, how do I know, can I start learning them right now? Like, are they features as major as Flexbox and Grid? Are they features that are so, what do you say, immediately going to be supported by all browsers? Are they important enough for me to learn? If you want to know how you can be sure, then there's something called Interop that was introduced a couple of years ago. That's an initiative taken so that majority of the browsers that we know today, they all meet at the beginning of a year and they have some goals for the entire year. So this Interop 2022 went pretty great. A lot of features were implemented. This is the Interop 2023 dashboard. They have about, I think, 22 or something focus areas. So these are the focus areas that you can see. And on the left, you can see how many are already implemented. So it's November. I took this screenshot in October. This might have changed. So this Interop team just investigates and sees how many are improved, like how many, if it's already implemented in Chrome, Firefox. So they all agree upon implementing these features, and they actually do at least 90% of them in the coming year. So you can be sure that these are the features that are solid, that you can start learning. If you want to stay on the edge, you can definitely go to Interop dashboard, check the features, and start learning them. So that's about it. If you these are the books that I have written, CSS, Flexbox, and Grid. I cover about 70 plus real world use cases when it comes to Flexbox and Grid, and explain the concepts from the beginning to the end. And my recent book, Tailwind CSS, if you are sure, if you have some basic knowledge of Tailwind and want to take it to the next level, then that's a book plus course. since Black Friday is happening, there's a Black Friday deal that's running. So you can use the code to get 50% off. That's about it. Yeah, follow me on Twitter. Shruti Balasa is the what do you say handle. And if you want links for any of my other socials or these books, you can click on that Limey link there. And yeah, follow me if you find me interesting. My content, I put everything mostly active on Twitter, not on Instagram or LinkedIn or anywhere. I have profiles, but I'm not active there. So that's about it. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Firstly, super interesting presentation. Like this is the most detailed CSS presentation I've ever seen. I'm pretty sure many of you have learned amazingly new things today about CSS, because a lot of things even I was like, oh, aisa bhi hota hai. Right? So I know all of you must had that moment that okay, aisa bhi hota hai wala. So anyone having any question
Yes.
can straight up ask right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah, when you explained it about that RGB and that LHS, LCH, right?
Right.
So I could see that 50% of that yellow color was too bright, right, when compared to the other one.
Yes.
Now, to get it to that brightness, I need to increase by 100%, I guess. Then it would be matching that color, right?
Yeah.
So let's say if I need more brighter than that, so can we go beyond 100%?
No. So in LCH, you're asking?
Yes.
So in LCH, it's more consistent. Now, if you want something bright, it is 100% only.
Okay.
So the things that you saw there was 50% brightness. So that's why you feel it's quite dull. But if you actually try 100% in LCH, it will be brighter than that. Definitely, because it's more vivid.
Yeah.
So in LCH, if you want a good yellow color,
Yeah.
it's way better than HSL.
Okay. The
Yeah.
reason I'm asking that question because I'm working in an organization where our higher management is little aged, okay, and then when they see that color with 50%,
Yeah,
they
yeah,
would
it's
be
all
like,
50%.
yeah, they would be
Yeah,
like,
so 50 is literally 50%.
yeah.
So
And
imagine it's
they'll not even
vibrant.
be satisfied by the 100 if I change it with LHS.
It's definitely they will be. Yeah, yeah. It is. It's very bright. Yeah, it's
Okay,
definitely
thank you.
brighter than HSL. That is for sure.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for your question. Nice.
anyone else? I hope everyone understood everything. Okay, interesting. So we want to give a small gift from ReactPlay team.
Oh, thank you so much. Hey, awesome. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
All right. Thank you so much, Shruti, for coming here and
Yeah,
giving
I'm
this
here for
beautiful talk.
another half an hour, maybe until the next break. So if you want to talk
Yeah.
to me or ask me any questions, yeah, I'm there.
Yeah.
But after the break, I think I'll be leaving.
All right.
Thank you.
Cool. All right. So that was our first talk in our first event. And I didn't imagine that it would be like that amazing, but okay. All right. With that, I will have our second speaker on the stage now. So we have Tapas. I guess you don't need an introduction for him. So Tapas is the founder of ReactPlay, the community which is organizing this event. And he has almost like 20 years of experience in web development, and I guess he'll be introducing himself now. Is everything fine? Yeah. All right. Cool. I'll hand over the mic to Tapas now.
Okay, thanks, Pritesh. Yeah, thank you, everyone. So I'll start with a story. So it was 8th standard. We had math exam, not in school, but in our private tuitions. And we were close to 40 students who were studying in that batch. And one of my friend, he probably got sick. He could not come for the exam, and I had to proxy for him. I'm doing the same thing here today. A couple of speakers who were supposed to be here, the last minute they could not make it. So I'm just doing that proxy. Pritesh yesterday night, 11:20 around, called me and told Tapas, you have to get ready with a talk. So I kind of managed to do something today morning. Hopefully it will be good. So I'm going to talk about Astro. How many of you used Astro? used? 3, 4. How many of you heard about Astro? Great. So the intention of this talk is not to go kind of do rip-off of Astro, rather give a good overview of it and the use cases around it, so that most of you who are unaware of Astro, they will come to know, and you can always experiment it out. And if you're interested in Astro and in this world, I'm always happy to kind of share hands. But before we start with Astro, I think it's a React Play event. Until now, we have not talked about React. Shruti spoke about CSS. I'm talking about Astro. Pritesh will talk about AI. What is happening? So when I was thinking, like, what is happening? I made this today morning. So this is what is happening, right? You can relate. And there is a question mark in that image. Can you find it? Who do you think that? Who is that person? Developer is there, already purchased. Product owner paying for it. So that's probably a person like me who advocate the technology, who tell today Astro is good, tomorrow Solid is great, day after tomorrow React is a bitch. So it happens, right? But when you are looking into a technology, don't look into just straight away comparison perspective. Look into it from his use case perspective. That's the reason I put it out here, so that when I talk about Astro, I'm going to talk about his use case perspective without blaming React, Angular, and any other sisters. Okay. Do you find Astro there, by the way? Good. I also mentioned this ASP, EJB, Sublet. I worked long back. Those are like dumped. Okay. So first, let's talk about like why Astro and what exactly Astro does. Now, when you do application development, any application, like web application, mobile application, if the application is JavaScript based, we use JavaScript for interactivity. We all know, right? HTML for structure, CSS, Shruti spoke enough. I don't have to talk about it. Now, Astro's philosophy is, I want to be the faster in the market. And with that philosophy, it also says, I am not going to solve your problem for application. I'm going to solve your problem for a very specific niche use case, where the first download of the page matters a lot, and where I can download things without JavaScript. This is where Astro wants to play, okay? So I'll show you definitely examples. So Astro actually claims that it is very content focused, server first. We'll explain each of these things. Fast by default, amazingly, easy to use, of course. And it has a lot of feature, but it is still flexible. Because when we keep adding features, even in our own application, we kind of somehow sacrifice flexibility, right? So it says that it is still flexible. So we'll first talk about the content focus. So when you say content focus, that's why Astro differentiated itself. They say that use Astro if your website demands any of this. If it is a marketing site, kind of publishing sites, documentation, blogs, portfolios, or some amount of e-commerce sites. In their website, you won't be surprising to see that they say that if you are building an app which require more interactiveness, your client needs to download more JavaScript. Don't use me. Go to Next.js. So that's where, before you pick up a technology and compare, they have done a very good job. They're saying that I am not playing there at all. This is where I want to play. And if you are coming for this, come to me. I will serve you. So the use case of Astro is this. If you want to create your own blog, maybe the Astro is a great choice. Or some static websites, Astro is a great choice. So let's talk about each of those parameters that we spoke about, like server first by default, and then you also see some code and some applications. So server first, what exactly server first means? Can anybody tell what exactly server first means? Any terms that you come in your mind? A very well-known term is that in JavaScript world. SSR, server-side rendering. What is server-side rendering? Yeah, so basically you tell that, hey client, because you are very costly, user pay us. I'm not going to put any load to you. I pay for server as a user or the application user. Application maker, I will take all the load. I'll do things in the server and then give it back to your client, so the client has to do minimalistic job, minimalistic processing, download and everything, and application is run smoothly, right? So SSR came to it. People working on React world, they know SSR everything. Astro actually bank on the server-side stuff a lot, server-side rendering, and it makes sense because they are saying that we are for the static world. Interactivity, if you need it by demand. I'm not going to give you interactivity by default. So when they're making this statement, it always makes sense to keep things in the server, do all the build, all the compilation, and send the final output back to the client. This is a very surprising part. In Astro, you write more HTML, CSS, raw HTML, CSS, tailwind, okay, JavaScript than any other gimmicks. Gimmicks by gimmicks, I mean that when you're in the React world, you need to know state, you need to know effect, context, Redux. Go to Next.js world, you need to know what? React server components. Go to Angular world, you have something. Go to Solid.js world, you need to know more about the reactivity, all this stuff. Astro says that no, you just need to know HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So come, start with that. And if you need a React, if you are a kind of React person, cannot live without React, you can still bring React component. If you are a Vue developer, you can still bring Vue. So it means it's a framework which is technology agnostic. If you don't know React, don't want to use Vue, you hate Angular, Angular is a great thing, by the way, you can still create Astro application which is pretty functional. Just with HTML, CSS, JavaScript, you don't need anything else. We'll see some examples. So definitely no gimmicks. First by default, this is a survey on their website. If you can read about it, you can get some idea about how real world application demands speed, right? The last one, every 1 second slower, this is by BBC, 10% fewer users. If Amazon is having that big user base, 10% of that you can imagine. So if you are running a marketing site, which is talk about your whole business, you don't need fancy stuff, right? You need something which loads fast, give the information fast, done. That's it. So that's why they want to play, okay? And with that, the architecture that I want to kind of talk about. So how many of you heard about this term, that island architecture? Have you heard about anybody? So island architecture or component islands or component architecture is something which I think it came around 2019-20 that time, and Astro really made it famous. What it says, that each of the structures, some of this you are not able to view because of it's very light shade, but each of those boxes, think about them as independent applications. Or if you're coming from React world, Vue world, or any other world, think about them as components. They completely do their job. But here is a clear difference. The clear difference is like each of these things that comes on your browser, they come without any interactivity. They come with static information. If the interactivity is required, each of those boxes will add their own interactivity on demand. This is the philosophy. So it means that the image carousel that you see over here, right? In React world or jQuery world, how are you going to implement this image carousel? There will be a script tag, which will be looking for certain things to come from the server. Then the things come from the server. At the client side, we will attach the script to that. And then the interactiveness will get started. But in Astro, island architecture, things are kind of ulta. You get everything, the HTML that you want to render, you get from the server completely processed with something called slot in between, where you will be injecting your dynamic data only when it is required. And you will also say that when it comes to the client side, which script to associate, if at all it is required. So by default, it won't come. We'll see some examples. So this is how the architecture itself is a bit different than how we kind of do things. So with Astro, I told that HTML, CSS, JavaScript, TypeScript is the default thing that you can actually start using. But it doesn't stop you using your favorite framework. You can use React, Vue, Preact, Lit, Solid, Split, anything you want, you can use with Astro. I think this is also a very powerful thing because usually an Angular developer really become very nitpicky about going towards React, and is vice versa. It happens. If you're on Twitter, you will see like, so Astro kind of framework, they're like, we are like Guruji, we are for everyone. You can come at peace and we'll kind of serve you. So with that, let's see some code so that we can realize like how Astro thing works. So I'm going to go and pull up Visual Studio Code, but before that, okay. Okay, so this is an application that I was preparing. If CSS is bad, Shruti, you can fix it later. Uh, it was done in very much hurry. So this is a application that created with Astro with, how many of you know Hashnode? Okay, so recently Hashnode released a product called Headless Hashnode. So it means that you can use the entire Hashnode infrastructure and the UI you can build by yourself. But the UI you can run on the Hashnode infrastructure itself, so that all their SEOs and everything you give by default. But you want to design your own blog interface, you can take the advantage of it if you don't like Hashnode interface. So I was thinking like, what could be a best use case than developing something like I'll build my own blog interface using Astro and using headless Hashnode at the backend. So I'm using headless Hashnode at the backend, and all the articles that you are seeing here I have written. So it is actually picking things from my blog, Hashnode blog, and it is showing all the real data, basically whatever I have written. Okay. Now once you click on it, any of the pieces, and it died, it happens with demo. Okay. So it's because Yarn Dev was killed. Okay, so I'll reload. Yeah, so you get to see like the kind of details of the blog, and if you click on any of this tag, it goes to the kind of blog by the tag. You can roam around, and then you can have an about page, come back. So this is a use case of a blog site, which Astro says that this is what you should be using me for. There is no other gimmicks. You have all the data at the backend. You just fetch the data, put some HTML, CSS stuff on it, and you're done. So basic JavaScript, HTML, CSS, you're done. So let's get into the code now. So understand a bit of it, like how things works. Again, to understand this code, I need you to understand a bit of JavaScript, HTML, and CSS. You don't have to understand any React or anything as such. Is it visible at the back? Fair enough. Okay. Okay, so this is an Astro project. So once you initialize an Astro project, like any other project that you do today, you basically install Astro and then do yarn install, yarn dev. You get the best thing up. So how things work, how many of you know Next.js here? So you know like the pages, routing, and all those stuff, right? With the folder structure, you can actually create the route. Within that, if you put a page.js text, you get a page. Astro kind of goes with the similar kind of structure. So whatever you see inside the pages is basically where you create your route. So if you see pages, inside pages, if you have an index.astro, please note the extension that they use is .astro. Okay, it's not HTML, not JS, not CSS, not anything else. .astro, and why it is, we'll see. Then this is actually the top level route. Now inside that, if I have another folder like blog, so it means that I'm creating a subroute /blog. Inside that index.js or TS will create. So it goes like that, right? And you know like how to create dynamic route in Next.js. Astro kind of follows the same thing. If you give a subscript and then the name, it will create a dynamic route. So it's exactly same thing. This is where the libraries and frameworks that's coming late are very smart. They take all the best thing from the other framework and they push our thing. Solid.js is one of the great example of that. Okay. So why it is .astro? Because Astro goes with certain convention of how you want to write your HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. In this project, what you see between these two lines, where have you seen these two lines? In which kind of file? These two lines, Markdown. You have seen a lot in the Markdown at the top. So where you define all your JavaScript related items, you define over here. And whatever you are defining as a JavaScript related item, you can straight away use them below in your HTML. Okay, it is as simple as that. So if I go to, for example, blog, and inside blog, an index.astro file. So what I'm doing is basically I'm getting all my post. I'm getting all my post. And then basically come down, passing to another component. People coming from React will definitely know like what component is, like breaking the UI into small unit. I am passing all the post over there. So that means that there will be a component called post. Inside post, I'll be iterating everything and probably creating all those postcard using the HTML and CSS. So here, I really don't have to know any other things which is coming from our framework. I can actually simply doing stuff with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. That's what they stand for. That's what they are saying that use me for that particular purpose, right? So creating this particular application, it took like what 1.5 hours with all this style and everything. Only majority of the time that I took is to find out how to get hash node data with the GraphQL. But once it was there, that application building was like chutki mein. So if you want to explore Astro further, you can do it from the Astro website. They have a beautiful documentation, and they also have a ramp up guide through which you can actually build a tutorial by yourself and then gain confidence on building things. This project, this Astro project, that whatever I showed, is also open source on my GitHub. You can also access that, and if you want to contribute to make it much better, I have few issues created there, so please welcome. We'll fix it together. So with that, I want to kind of leave it here and want you to kind of explore further, like what you want to explore about Astro. If you have any question, I'm ready to take anything that anybody has got. It's fine. Does Astro sounds good to you? I mean, uh, what do you think about this technology innovation? Because most of us are like React, Angular, Vue lovers, right? So somewhat coming in between, and how do you see it? What is your thought?
How many of you used Astro before?
I saw a few hands, 2 to 3 hands.
How many are hearing Astro for the first time here?
Yeah, I know
Yeah.
many. So
So
that's fine. I mean, you can just use it the way I started using it. Also, few things that I had discovered. I'll share all these links with you. To quickly show one more thing before I go, I think this is, I missed out to put it in my slide because I was in super hurry to create it. I'll just bring it here. Yeah, this one. So this guy. This is an example where we are using React with Astro. Okay, I think it is a good example to see. So what we're doing over here, by now you know like how an Astro file look like. This is where you do all the JavaScript, and below you do all the HTML and CSS. So if you have a React component, you can write it like a React component. For that, only thing that you have to install React support on Astro. They have the library for all known framework and things. You can just install that. Once you install, you can actually write your own component. Here they have written a React component which is called counter, and they are using this counter below. You see here. So counter is a React component which you are using inside an Astro page. So if you want to migrate something from your React to Astro, or maybe you have a fancy React NPM you want to utilize on your website or marketing site, I think these are the use cases that you can actually start doing. So yeah, start utilizing it, start learning Astro. I hope you find this talk helpful. Thank you.
okay, so we have a lot of things in the market right now. We have Gatsby, we have Next.js, we have Astro now, Remix, a lot of things. So you don't have to learn everything, but if you find something interesting, you can straight away go ahead and just try it out. It will take you 2 to 3 days if you are good with React. 2 to 3 days to explore new technology. It's just good to know thing as a developer that what are things and why we use a particular thing and why someone has introduced that particular framework for what reason. Okay. All right. So with that, we have completed our 2 talks for the evening. And now we will play a tech game. After that, we'll have a small break for the thing that you are all here. Okay. Not snacks, obviously networking. So it'll give it'll give you some time to network and stuff. To help you out with networking, I want to let's do one thing. Okay, how many of you are from Gujarat? Yeah, maybe. Okay, how many of you are from Punjab? Delhi? Okay, okay. So you can look around similar people. How many of you are from Bangalore only? नहीं 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 गिनते. Kolkata. Okay, 2 people. Then Madhya Pradesh. Okay, UP. Interesting. UP से. Then we have anyone? Okay, other parts of Karnataka. Okay, yeah. How many of you are from South India itself? Like who know South Indian languages? Oh, good chunk of people. All right. Yes, I'm waiting for everyone to settle down once. The new APIs that came out, Vision API and text to speech and everything. How many of you know that Sam Altman got laid off? All right. So see, even the CEO is not safe right now in the tech. Okay. So think wisely before switching your companies right now. All right. Cool. Uh, so how many of you know that this assistance API of OpenAI, how it works? Anyone knows? Okay. How many of you use ChatGPT to write your code? Okay, interesting. So how do you generally write your code with ChatGPT? You just tell him that, okay, write this component for me. And how rude we are with ChatGPT. We just tell them, just write it down. And if he doesn't do, what are you doing, man? Just write it down, change the component name, change the styling, right? And the good thing is ChatGPT doesn't say that, abhi to kiya tha yaar, right? They don't complain, right? It's the best. So if you even if you don't have a senior developer in your company, you have ChatGPT now. It solves each and every small issue that comes in. Like they don't judge you, right? They even if it is small fix that you are not able to figure out, it will just do it for you without asking any random questions about your career or your learning. All right. So today what we are going to do is we will be building a chat assistant. Okay, so now in this age of AI, we have seen businesses grown a lot, right? Every small or big business is trying to implement AI on their product, even if it is in a hotel, right? Let's say I'm talking about Radisson Hotel. They also want an AI on their website to give assistance on how many rooms are available. They'll have a chatbot on their website that answers all those questions that we used to ask to a customer care after calling 5 times, right? Now we have there is a company, I won't name it, that laid off entire support, uh, right? So a lot of things happen after AI came into the picture. But now I want to tell you that how easy it is for you guys to leverage AI and build products out of it. Okay, it's not just, you shouldn't be using AI just as your helper. Okay, you are using it, you are consuming AI, but what if you start working with AI, right? Right now, the job scenario is like that. No one like all the the work, redundant work the people used to do is done by AI now. Rather than a company hiring 5 people who will do that job, they'll hire one person who knows how to make that same work done in one day, right? So yeah, I'll teach you how to build a AI chat assistant in just 10 minutes because of Versal. So Versal has done a lot of work in creating packages around AI so that you guys can build amazing product out of it. All right. So before starting the presentation, I would like to give a small introduction of myself. My name is Pritesh. I am a content creator on Twitter and LinkedIn. Just write stuff, whatever I feel like. I also write blogs and stuff. I'm founder of this small brand that I've created that is Humans of Tech. How many of you have heard about Humans of Bombay? All right, few hands. Humans of New York? No? All right. So this is something similar to it. So what Humans of Tech does is we invite speakers who have something interesting story to share, which can help a lot of individuals. So if you go to thehumansoftech.com, this is our small little website. These are the stories that we have covered till now. So we have good number of people. Some are working in Adobe, some are working on Google. So it's not about how big the company is, it's about how interesting that story is, which can teach you a lot of things. Okay. So yeah, these are the upcoming speakers that we are having. If you are interested in listening or reading it, the stories of people and learn out of it, then you can follow our page, thehumansoftech.com. You can follow me on LinkedIn, on Twitter, and you will get all the details about this Humans of Tech. All right. So this is the QR code if you want to check what we do at Humans of Tech. All right. You can Google around. Okay. Yeah. So this is what we do with AI right now, right? But we are also afraid of AI at the same time. But okay, we'll start using AI and we'll build products on it so that people know that we just don't use it, but we can also build with AI. All right. Cool. Uh, cool. We won't waste any time. We'll just straight away dive into VS Code. All right. Can you see the VS Code? Let me zoom in a little bit. Okay. I hope this is visible. All right. Uh, so what I want to tell you guys is I was talking about Versal, right? If I go to Versal AI OpenAI SDK, so there is something called Versal OpenAI SDK. So what they do here is they provide us a package which contains a lot of things. Okay, with which you can build chatbots in minutes. You can build text generation in minutes. So they have built a wrapper around so that you don't have to jump around something like LangChain or something that will help you to uh, use different methods on top of OpenAI APIs. Okay, so yeah, so the great thing is if you do npm AI, the term AI is bought by Versal now. Can you imagine AI package, node package is bought by AI. So open npm AI is by Versal. All right. So what we'll do is we'll quickly install all these packages. We'll install OpenAI AI everything on our VS Code, and we'll quickly jump into things. All right. So I'm using pnpm to make things quick here. I don't. Okay. All right. Meanwhile, this thing is done. I want to tell what I'm going to do here. So I'll first of all show you the basic chat application that this particular package provides, and later on, what we'll do is we'll do a little tweak in that will help which we call a prompt engineering. Okay, so we have heard this word prompt engineering, but what exactly it means, how much value it adds to an application, is what we'll see today. All right. How many of you are curious to know about what I'm going to do? Right? Because many of you might have, like, I was at that place a month ago. I know that when you listen to like OpenAI API, what is that? There's something crazy, some rocket science is happening. I'll just tell you it's nothing. It's just your normal NPM package. Okay. All right. I hope I'm in right directory. Yeah. So cool. If I do NPM, I have to. Okay, if you follow the guide, I have to add an open API key. I have my open API keys. Even if you try copying, I'll delete it. Don't worry. Uh, okay, .env. We have this. I hope I'm in right folder. Okay. So I just did few things. If I do npm, not AI, it's just npm run dev. Okay. You'll see you must be seeing the versals. Yeah, the Next.js thing. Okay, now let's follow the documentation. It will take me just 30 seconds to build a chatbot out of it. I have to create an folder inside app. How many of you know how full stack Next.js application work? Full stack Next.js application where you can write APIs inside of Next.js itself. right? So Next.js is very amazing framework which helps you build everything inside it. Okay, if you start exploring it, there is no end. But yeah, this is something you can do. So if I want to write APIs inside it, I'll just create API folder, and then we have to create a chat folder here, and then we have to create something called route.ts. I hope I'm spelling it right. Yeah, I have to copy this and then I'll just paste it here. Okay. Now the next step is I have to build a UI for it. Okay. So if I have to go to page.tsx, so whatever you're seeing in the UI, I'll remove everything and I just replace it with this. All right. And if I restart the server, let me see everything. Yeah, it is there. So now this is your chatbot, but it won't work because I have to restart this. Whenever you change environmental variables, you have to restart. I'll just kill this. Okay. My AI. Okay. All right. I guess we will be live now. If I refresh this. Okay. If I ask anything like, hey, it is ready now. So it took me hardly 2 to 3 minutes to build this chatbot. I can ask anything what you ask through ChatGPT. This is your personal ChatGPT now, where you just you are using your API keys and nothing else. All right. So if you wanna impress anyone at your company that hey, I built a chatbot out of AI, it took me 30 days to build this. You can do that because yeah. But now what this does is I will ask like, do you know about React? It will say me something that whatever he or she knows. But issue here is it works on, it's just a normal chatbot which has information, which is very generalized information. It's not specific to something. Nowadays, what after the launch of D-Day, they have something called Dev Day. They have something called GPTs. What these GPTs do is they have they train it on like some personalized data. Let's say if I want to build a chatbot which answers all the questions related to the events that we do at ReactPlay, I can do that with that here. Okay. So I guess the API didn't respond it, but fine. So what I'll do is I'll try to tweak this thing. Before I tweak things, let me quickly give you a walkthrough of what we did exactly. What is this wrapper that the Versal is providing us? What exactly it is? So if you see, this is the UI that you saw. We have simple main section here. This particular mapping is for the messages that you get. Okay, this is the form that submits your request to the API. And if you see here, there is this hook called use chat. This is something, if you see, it is provided by AI React. That is the AI npm package provides this particular hook, which lets you do everything. Meaning, it is the input that you have. It is handled by the use chat hook. It is under the hood. It is also calling the post API route that we called. So this is the post API route that we just created. Here we have the open API keys taken in from environmental variables, and then this is a simple post API backend. So it does few things. So here also you see that we are getting messages directly here because the use chat application is under the hood calling this particular API, which is also providing the body for this. So this is how things are work if I call, because I cannot go into details. Once you read the documentation, you'll understand the each detail of what each term in this particular code is. All right, here we are the model that we are using is 3.5 turbo. There are other hell lot of options I'll show you that you can use. If you go to chat here, you'll see there are a lot of models that you can try and test. Okay, you have ChatGPT के काफी सारे models you have. Also, you have Meta's model. You have Claude's also. Yeah, you have Claude model also. So whatever model you can try and test out, like what model gives what type of response. If you are interested, you, if you are interested how, LLMs and stuff work, you can go ahead and test it out, how each of them have a different type of response. Okay. Just to give you an example, if I choose some different model here and I'll say, hey, how are you doing? You will see both will answer in different way because both are trained on different things. Yeah, you see different answers for the same question because they are different models. So each model has some different kind of precision in some different parameters. So it's just trial and error. You can try and learn and stuff if you are interested in LLMs and stuff. I'll go back to the code now. So if you see here, if I go to this and if I again inspect, what I want to tell you guys is if I go to network tab, is it visible? Let me zoom. Why this is so small? Okay. All right. If I say hello, it will take some time. I hope the response is going. I'm not sure why it is taking so much of time. Try to refresh. I hope I didn't broke anything. Yeah. See? So now if I keep sending, okay. If you see the payload now, I am sending the array of the messages that I'm sending, also the response that I'm getting. Basically, I'm giving context of entire conversation that we are having to the LLM so that they can understand the context of the entire conversation that we have. You must have seen ChatGPT, like you have a long conversation with them because they have context of all the things that you asked ChatGPT before. This is how it is done under the hood. All right. What I will do here is, I'll try to make this personalized, as in, let's say I want to build a chatbot which answers the question that only are specific to something. Let's say right now I'm building a chatbot for Hotel Radisson. Okay, we have Radisson Hotel in Bangalore. I'll tell that I'll write a prompt and will ask ChatGPT that okay, you have to answer these questions which are related to your hotel. If something else is asked by user, you just say you don't know. Okay, so I'll do that here. So if you see messages is an array right now. So if I go here and if I let me quickly copy this. I have already built this. So let me copy that from, yeah, this is something I already have. Okay, I'll just copy this to save time. I will show you. Okay. All right, so that is something called prompt. So if you see here, I assigned a role as system so that OpenAI will understand that okay, there is a role with system, and what that role will do, they have this particular prompt that you are a receptionist at Hotel Radisson. You just answer the question related to the hotel only. If the user asks anything, any question that they say, just say this is not my job. This is what receptionists do, right? So this is what we are asking OpenAI to do. Let's see how accurate this is and what happens. In prompt, what we will try is, so we know that prompt, the messages is an array, and we just want the last. So if you see, last question that I asked, the last input that I sent is in the last array and content key. Okay, so I have to fetch the last object, like the array which is in last, and out of that I want the content out of it. So what I'll do here is I'll copy this. Okay, cool. So here you see messages may, I'm just accessing the last item, the last index. This is how we access, right? And then out of that, I just want the content key, the value in the content key, basically. So that is in prompt. Now, what LLM will do is it will answer only questions related to Redis and Bangalore, and that LLM also has an information related to that because OpenAI has information till what, September 21, right? So yeah, at that time Radisson was there, so they know who what this hotel is. I'll quickly refresh and also try to so this I don't need now. I'll quickly restart the server. Okay, I'll restart the server. Hmm. Okay. All right. So I guess we are good to go. Okay, tell me what question should I ask to this particular chat assistant? Anyone? Sorry, room availability. Okay, I'll ask how many rooms are there. How many rooms? Room availability can't be answered because that is something. How many rooms are there? Your hotel. Okay. Let's see. All right. Is there a bar in your hotel? I'm not sure is it true or not, but yeah. Do you have pool? I haven't seen, but okay. So you can't trust it, but you can see that we have made this particular chatbot personalized, right? So you can build a lot of things out of it. You can create. So right now, the context that I gave is just that you are just an assistant of XYZ hotel, right? And when you start giving a larger context, you just tell them that this is what our organization does. This is what we have. If I start putting everything related to that, then they have the context, and then they will give you more accurate answer because they have the context. All right. Cool. So this is it. This was my talk. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you learned something new, and I hope you'll try open this Versal ISTK, and will try to impress your friends. Yeah. Yeah. Sure. What should I ask? Like say, how is your dog? Right? Yeah. You can make it like personalized to next level also. So. ओरियो बोला मत बोल ठीक है. All right, that's it about my talk. Yeah, please. Yeah, so since it is 3.5 turbo, we have 32K tokens right now. But now after D-Day, sorry, Dev Day, why I'm saying D-Day. It's Dev Day. After Dev Day, we have 4 GPT-4 Turbo, which has like 128K tokens. So you can pass the entire 35 pages book to the LLM, and it will read it and it will answer. So if you are free sometime, I will recommend this talk by Sam Altman, who just got laid off. Uh, but he has an interesting talk. He talks about everything related to Vision API. They can read images also now, right? Vision API can read images. If you pass the frames of a video, they can do commentary without you. Like they can do commentary out of images. Can you imagine the level of AI now? I know you guys are afraid of your jobs, but see, this is what it is, right? So start learning about it, start implementing, start diving deep into OpenAI APIs. I did like again, this is not a rocket science, right? It's just a normal npm package that I used. All right, cool. If you have any, is it okay? Interesting. I haven't heard about this. Cool. Any other questions? All right. Thank you so much for listening to me. And with that, we'll have our next speaker. All right. And I am the host and I am also a speaker. So I can multitask, right? Yes. So we have is Akash. Akash works at GeekyAnts office here only, and he'll be talking about something interesting, which is gluestack-ui, right? Which is based on React Native, used on React Native. Okay, he'll be talking about. I'm sorry. Uh, so yeah, give it a big round of applause for Akash.
Hello everyone. So my name is Akash Gautam. I work here at GeekyAnts. I'm a software developer, and currently, like today, I'm going to talk about creating your own design system with like on top of GlueStack UI, like using GlueStack UI as your base and creating a design system on top of that. So let's start. But let's start with what is a design system. Like whenever you create a website or an app or anything, you need to have some set of rules or like guidelines, APIs, like how you should write the code, how the UI should look, a sort of a theme or a color palette or a template. So all of this incorporates your design system, including your UI components, your styling, your library, everything. So why, like, this is basically like what is a design system, a library that a simple library that has your components that are that will be consistent and that gives you the look that you want for your website or your application. And so, like, how many of you have, like, while creating a design or a website, how many of you have had issues with the designer? Like, they ask you to create something and then you're like, no, matlab, nahi ho payega mere se. Like, it's not worth it. So, if you have a design system, if you have a set of rules, a set of guidelines, then that issue doesn't come there. Matlab, we also created the website when we were creating the GlueStack UI. So, we had lots of issues. Then we thought, like, okay, let's not make it how we did it initially. Let's create something from scratch. So that's how this, like, that's how we got, we got to this. So design system is basically a set of rules, uh, a universal, consistent, your UI library, your UI components, and a set of rules and styling tools to make everything smoothly. Now, this is just like what a design system is. Now, why you should use design system? Consistency. Like your code and your styling should be consistent across all of the pages or all of the screens of your website or an application or like whatever you're trying to achieve with the website, or it could be a software that you are using, or like making, like anything. It should be consistent, it should be efficient. If you have a set of rules already defined, then you don't need to like check and go for like, oh, okay, how do I do this, or what do I do, or in what way should I write it so it looks like this. So it is efficient, it is scalable. If the rules are defined, then to scale it is easier than if you're like if you're just like navigating blindly. If you don't know, like if you're just doing what the design should ask like each time instead of preparing in advance, then scalability will be hard. So if you have like, if you take time to create your like a set of rules and everything, scalability is easy. And collaboration, if everyone knows how the things are going and how they should do the things, collaboration and teamwork between your designers and individual developers becomes easier. Like I just said, I mean, designer and developers don't always see eye to eye to certain things. I mean, designers will create beautiful designs as they should, but then like we get, I mean, like how, I mean, why? Like, I mean, well, we could have done it simply. So why this? I mean, so if we have a certain set of rules, it becomes way easier, and the transition and those arguments convert to discussions. Then there's no more debate or arguments. Well, then there's discussion. Okay, this will look beautifully and this will make it more efficient. So how to combine them is by following a certain set of rules and regulations. So this is almost everything. It is regarding the design system. Now, like let's talk about the design system we made using gluestack-ui. But first, for that, I'll have to make you understand what is gluestack-ui and why we launched it. I mean, we already had native base; it was a huge success. Why we opted for gluestack-ui, which has a complete different architecture and a complete different styling, completely different API, and why we did not went with, let's say, native base 4.0. So the first issue or some of the issues we faced in native base were performance. That was the first one. And then we were giving everything together into one bundle. But let's say you don't need that complete bundle. So what do you do? Either you use this library or not. And when native base was launched, there was not many alternatives. So the user had no other options. So to counter everything regarding that, we created BlueStack UI. Now it is a universal library. The same code works for your React applications, Next, React Native, Expo. Wherever you can use the React code, it will work there. And the same code, you don't need to change anything. If you need it, like the styling, if you need something different based on the platforms, we have props for that also. So everything, like the people who initially thought of it, I came late into the process. So everything was done beautifully and it was made. And but gluestack UI is not just one thing, it is a ecosystem. And this is basically how it looks like and what it is. So we take components from React Native Web, and then we pass them through our first library, that is the gluestack style React. Now gluestack UI comprises of two different libraries. One is the gluestack UI and the other one is the gluestack style React. Now gluestack style basically handles everything related to styling, whether it be your token resolution, inline style resolution, or when you make a new component, the default design that you give it. That all is that all gluestack style handles. So I'll explain the basic flow. So you take the React Native web component, and then we pass it through. We have a styled function in gluestack style React, and then it gives us the same component plus additional properties that we can give it to them, that are the styling props. And those styling props resolve everything at build time. So the performance is, I mean, it's really fast. And the inline props are also resolved at build time. Only the state based props that you have, that will only like happen at runtime, because if you change the state and runtime, that cannot be handled at build time. Now this components, now we get a styled component. So after that, gluestack UI, basically we take those components and we add accessibility, we add internal state management, and we add a lot of other props and properties that is required for each of them individual components. So gluestack UI is not just one library, it also comprises of many different libraries. So we have a creator function for each of these components: create button, create input, create modal, uh, create avatar, you name it, it's there. So we have about 33 components, and each of these components have their own separate creator functions that can also be used by you individually. Like if you just need a modal and you don't need anything else, then you could just install that package. You could take that creator function and use that component directly. You don't need to increase your bundle size. You don't need to worry about memory. And so it's good. And then after gluestack UI, after the styled component is passed through the creator functions, you get your component that is accessible, that has internal state management, that has all of the props that are required for those specific individual components, and it can resolve your styling at build time. So it's fast, it's functional, and I mean, it's good. And Then then comes like what is the default styling that we are switching it with. And let's say the user doesn't want our own default styling, they want to add their own. So to tackle that problem, we made the styling into a different file or a package altogether, that is the gluestack themed config. So that this package contains the default styling for all of these components. You could use these stylings. There's an option to override these stylings also. If you don't need any of it, you don't need this package, it will run like without it also. And everything of this like bundled together becomes the gluestack-ui themed. So now the user has option. If they just want a single component, they could use it from, let's say, gluestack-ui slash button. Use the button only and the gluestack style react to resolve styling. If you don't want our gluestack style react, you could go with, let's say, tailwind css or any other styling library that will also work with this. So we have made it completely separate to give the user a complete freedom on how they want to create their design system. You could also change the APIs by creating a wrapper component on top of these components, and it will work however you want them to. And if you just want this library as it is, just install gluestack-ui themed and you're good to go. You don't need to change anything. Import the provider, import the components, and it's good to go. So this was all about gluestack-ui and how we made it, why we made it. Now I'll talk about the library that the design system that we made, gluestack-ui. I mean, I know the name is a bit ludicrous, it's a bit long, but like there was no other option. It was a decision from the higher up, so like even I can't say anything. So we made it, and this is basically so the journey of this is sort of interesting. This was not how we like how it is right now. It started as a challenge. We wanted our gluestack UI to like we wanted it to break. So that's why we made this. The API of this library and the API that is given in gluestack UI, the way you pass the props, the way you pass the styling, is completely different. There's no similarities between these two. Like we changed the API structure from native base to gluestack UI, and the APIs are completely too different. So we wanted to see if we could create the same thing, the API structure and the styling and everything we had in native base using gluestack UI, because those two are completely different architectures. There's like no similarities between these two. The components we used in native base are not there in gluestack UI. This is written from scratch. So we wanted to push it to see when it will break. It broke a lot of times. We fixed it. It broke again. We fixed it. Then sort of it became okay. Let's see. Like it was starting to look good. So then we came to a point. Okay, so we also wanted to give like then this library became a solution to another problem that we were not going to solve at this time, and that problem was how do we give the users of native base extended support for this, and how do we like I mean if someone is using native base for like 5 6 years, they're very comfortable with it, they're okay with it, and they use it for client applications, for big applications, for I mean, very large production level websites or apps. So how do we give them the same support of gluestack UI, the functionality, the performance of gluestack UI, while not making them uncomfortable? And by uncomfortable, I mean like we changed everything from native base to gluestack UI. So the API, the way you call it, the way you run it, even the providers is different. The way you change the theme is different. So we created this library for, I mean, this library turned into that purpose. Right now, this library is almost done. We'll release the beta version on I think Wednesday, and this will be the drop-in replacement for native base. So you just need to change the imports, and everything will work as it is. So like now, how did we created it? So we basically took gluestack UI, did the styling as it was in native base, and then to change the API, we have to create a wrapper function for each individual components. It was a hassle, it was a lot of work, but eventually everything sorted out. Even the typings of the gluestack UI and theme native base and this library are different. I mean, in native base and gluestack UI are completely different. The typing, the prop usage, architecture. So we made it to look like that, so the user does not have to change anything. If you want to use the same code of native base right now with the performance enhancement of gluestack-ui, you just need to install like npm I gluestack-ui / theme native base or yarn-add, whichever you prefer, and then just change the import name from native base to gluestack-ui theme native base. It will look the same, it will feel the same, everything will be there. So this will be a drop-in replacement for that. And now if you want to create your own, yeah, one more thing about the performance. So why I was saying about the performance is because of this. gluestack-ui, like this is a render measure we did on, I think it was iPhone 13, and we took about 1,000 renders. We rendered them one after the another of a of input component, and then we changed the variant and styling, and this was the last result we had. So the native base takes about, like as you can see, a lot of time. So this was one of the main reasons why we didn't want to go to the same approach we did with native base, and we wanted to change the architecture to make it as fast as possible. So as you can see, gluestack-ui, if you use gluestack-ui as it is, it comes around 170 ms. Then you have another library, the UI start components and React Native, as they are almost bare nude components. So it takes a lot of less time for them. But if you were to incorporate the accessibility that we offer, it will come around the same. So this gluestack-ui theme native base, the drop-in replacement for native base that we are going to launch, the performance of that comes somewhere around 200 ms, which is not like, I mean, we are trying to close it as close to gluestack-ui. We are using Babel plugin to resolve everything at the build time. So we are trying to reduce it to at least 180 ms. But as you can see, that is like 200 ms is still a large improvement from 619 ms. So that's why we recommend the users, and we wanted to do something like this. So so people don't think we abandoned native base or the users of native base. It took us some time to get here, but the support we were giving at the initial time of launch of native base, we wanted to give back to the users and gain some of the trust that we lost. So this was, I think this is it. These are my handles. If you want to follow me, and if you have any questions, I would take them. Thank you.
Talk by Akash. Give
Thank
it a
you.
round of applause for him. If anyone is, yeah. Any questions you can ask to him. But there's a small gift from React Play team we want to give to Akash. You can go on stage. You can click some picture. Akash. All right. So how was the meetup? You guys met, how many people met some new people and connected on LinkedIn? Yeah. All right. I'm sorry, I'll just take my phone here. First, I want to click a picture for the meetup. All right. So how many of you will try the AI thing that I did? All right. How many of you will try the Astro that Tapas talked about? Right? So we learned a lot of new things that we heard for the first time, right? This is the beauty of tech meetups. You learn something new that you won't do. Like if you are sitting alone, if you watch some video, you'll just watch it and it's just a video then. If you come to some meetup, you'll see how actual implementation of everything that you see on internet, right? And you talk to the people about that particular tech stack or technology or an npm package, right? All right. So this was our talk for the evening. Okay. If we'll be opening CFPs for next meetup soon. It will be you follow us on Twitter. Will everything related to CFP and meetup will be announced on our Twitter and LinkedIn. So give it a follow, and I'll just take a quick video of. Me telling, so you remember whenever any in any of the concerts, what the artists do is they'll do like this, like, hey, I am at this, and this is my audience. I'll do that. Okay. So what you guys are supposed to do is you have to hoot as loud as you can. Okay. I want to show that what type of audience we got in our first meetup, and let people know that we hosted an event. Okay. I hope you don't mind. Okay. Thank you so much.